So our presentation is about working smarter, our journey with AI in the modern workplace. So I don't think we can go about our day-to-day lives without hearing the term AI battered around, but just to kind of bring it back a bit, what is AI? So artificial intelligence is the simulation of a human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think, reason, learn and solve problems. It includes natural language processing, machine learning, robotics and computer vision, and it's the capability of machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So although we're hearing about it loads and loads now, it's a buzzword, it has actually been around a lot longer than most people think. So back in 1950, Alan Turing proposed the Turing test, so testing a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behaviour equivalent to or indistinguishable from that of a human. I remember back in '97, IBM's Deep Blue defeating the Grand Chess Master in a game of chess. 2002, the Roomba robot vacuum cleaner launched, and then more recently, ChatGPT kind of came into effect. In April this year, it was reported that ChatGPT had passed the Turing test, although there is kind of some dispute as to whether that's an accurate measure.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways of testing artificial intelligence, which we can debate over lunchtime. But yeah, I think a lot of people have seen that it's passed this test now, and it's surpassing kind of human intelligence. So I think sort of just going back 10 years, which isn't that long really in the grand scheme of things. Microsoft came out with their Future Vision video, and at the time I remember watching this video and thinking it's really far-fetched. I remember having a conversation with my parents as well at the time about what they could see was going to change in the next 10 years and how they couldn't believe it and what they had seen in the last sort of 30 or 40 years. But I've just got a few screenshots from this video. So this actually shows a scuba diver underwater, got a VR headset, augmented reality headset on. It's feeding information through to his goggles. So he's looking at test samples underwater. He's streaming this information back to a university or something similar to that. And by looking at that information, getting real life data through to the headset to be able to actually analyze the information. It also showed 3D printers, and I know 10 years ago we would never have dreamt to have 3D printers at home, probably not alone even within businesses, and I know there's lots of people even in this room today that are utilising 3D printers. And that technology is absolutely fantastic. It's speeding things up and allowing businesses to make changes quicker. It also had the concept of being able to share data and collaborate and cast information through onto a different screen. And probably the closest it probably got to in terms of AI was something similar to OneNote, which allowed you to collate lots of different information into a single place, press a button, and it actually then went away and generated a document from that information. And I think that's what we're on the cusp of kind of seeing at the moment. Had a concept of earbuds, and we're seeing that now where there's going to be real life translation through earbuds, so you'll be able to communicate in a different language. Had a smartwatch, which 10 years ago, 2015, I remember the first Apple Watch coming out at the time, and I remember people saying to me, why would you want a smartwatch? What is the point? Why would you spend that amount of money on a non-designer brand of watch? And I wonder today how many people have actually got smartwatches on. It had the concept of maps and directions, which seemed a little bit far-fetched at the time, but now we're all using that, or we've got the ability to use that. And you'll notice on there that it has the concept of co-working. And I think that's probably the biggest change that we've seen in the last 10 years. This is obviously pre-COVID, so this was kind of the norm is being able to work from anywhere, work from home. And the idea being is there's centres up and down the country which you'd be able to go and work with other people from other businesses to collaborate. And I think all of that is all coming to life. I don't think that seems far-fetched at all. We're using it, and that is only in 10 years. And I think what we've seen in that 10-year gap is actually shortening down when we actually look at AI. Things are moving so quickly now. But I guess looking at Microsoft now and looking at Microsoft's vision for the future and what's available to us. So there's two things that are mainly being focused on and what I wanted to speak about today. And one of those is the Microsoft Modern Workplace. So this is a suite of tools that allows you to collate and collaborate with other people within your business and giving you those flexibility of being able to work anywhere. And this is taking it to the next step. You know, we're seeing people returning back to the offices now, but actually they're all sitting on Teams calls. They've got their headsets on. They're quite, isolated in their way of working. So how can we change that? Is the ability to go, well, actually, these 6 people out of the 10 in the meeting, actually 6 of those people are in the same building. They might be on different floors in different areas. Is there a meeting room that's available? Can we actually get those 6 people into the office again? Which 10 years ago, you wouldn't have dreamt of having that conversation or even thinking that there was a need for that. And I think the biggest one, we talked about ChatGPT, but obviously Microsoft Copilot. And Microsoft Copilot integrates into all of the Microsoft suite of documents. So Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, and Teams. And absolutely fantastic in terms of the way that it works and speeds up processes. And we've got a couple of examples of how we've done that in a couple of slides forward. Teams, just as an example, I was out of the office a lot the week before last, we were doing an exhibition. I was able to come back and just ask Copilot to summarise the channels and what information that I'd missed. And it gave me a quick paragraph of the information I'd missed and the bullet points that I needed to pick up on. It's integrated into SharePoint, into OneDrive, making handling documents easier, making it more secure, Power Platform as well, and AI for security. So we hear a lot around AI fighting security and security threats, but it's also being used for bad as well. So effectively, AI has got to fight AI. So just drilling into how we are embracing this.
Yeah, so as Richard's already mentioned, we are using Copilot internally, so integrating into that Office suite of software to create draft documents, reword documents. We're also using Fireflies, so for any of you who have been on Teams calls with us, our Fireflies note taker joins the call as well. It transcribes the meeting, summarises it all, and puts the concise bullet points of next actions that we've all agreed. So that's saved us some time and some admin time. We're also using Cycon documents, so for our purchase invoice recognition, which Sarah, if any of you spoke to her in our accounts department, has said that has freed up quite a lot of her time as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, we've got Cycon, Chris and Steve at the back of the room, so speak to them. And as many of you probably are as well, we are embracing ChatGPT, so using it to write emails, write that first draft, put lots of ideas in there and see what it kind of comes back with. And I've used it for some image generation as well. So you might have seen Seb in Simon & Simon's presentation earlier. That is an AI-generated image from ChatGPT.
And a real-life example, I had an RFI document that I needed to complete by the end of the week. We had an exhibition, I was out of the office a lot. I would have probably allowed myself probably a whole working day to respond to this, and I actually managed to get it done in just under 2 hours. So it really does save some time. And then sort of looking at time saving and cost effectiveness. So Copilot as an example, if you go for the paid version, it's nearly £25 per user per month. So it's not a cheap product. We're not talking a few pounds per user per month. 10 users, 250 quid, 20 users, £500. You can check my maths. But when we break that down, sort of average number of working days, it works out to about £1.21 per day. So how can we save £1.21 per day? So we did a bit more maths. We took the minimum wage, we took the UK average salary, and we took a manager's salary. And we said, right, okay, how much time would they have to save effectively to pay for Copilot? And it was 3 to 6 minutes per day. I think realistically, that is, it's going to save 10 to 15, 20 minutes per day every single day at least. Then you've got those bigger tasks and those bigger projects that you might need to work on, which would obviously give it extra benefit. And you may not want to roll it out to the whole business. You may want to say, actually, let's just look at the managers, let's look at the senior people within the business, let's trial it and let's see how that works. So a few stats on here, I won't go through all of them, but a couple that I've highlighted. So 70% of Copilot users said they were more productive and 68% said it improved their quality of work. 85% of users said Copilot helps them get a good first draft. And I think that's the key thing. At the moment, it's very much looking at a blank piece of paper. Where do I start? What do I need to do? And getting pen to paper can sometimes be the hardest bit. And this can come back and give you sort of probably 85% of what you need. It's then reading it, rewriting it, changing it into your tone of voice and just making sure that it's correct. 77% of users said once they used Copilot, they didn't want to give it up. So, can you afford not to embrace AI?
Yeah, I think the way we see it is you can't buy more time, but using AI to become more efficient is the closest that you can kind of become to that. So the way it's heading, repetitive and easy tasks look to be becoming more automated by AI. The tasks that we currently find hard are starting to become the easy tasks. And the tasks that we currently have as impossible tasks, whether that be from time constraints or complexity, are becoming the new hard tasks. And I think it's just, as Daniel said earlier, important that businesses and professionals adapt and kind of embrace that to stay up with the trends and remain competitive in today's business world. So looking at some useful prompts. So as I already said, summarising meetings in bullet points, so a quick summary of what's been said and agreed. Generating 10 blog posts about a particular topic that you could use in your a website. Explaining a complex topic as if I'm a child, so just taking it down and breaking it into really simple terms. And the final one on there, create a PowerPoint presentation about AI that can be delivered at Thrive 25, which may or may not have been used in this presentation.
Less said about that, the better probably, but yeah, it certainly gave us a lot of content or somewhere to start. So AI in the real world, so just looking at a couple of examples, and I've got a couple of videos for you as well, hence why I wanted to try and get the sound to work. But you know, looking at just healthcare and hospital scans, I think it was mentioned at the start, you know, we have got a shortage, we've got of people, we've got you know, to be able to treat, and we've got long waiting lists at the moment. So, you know, it's genuine, not just doctors, people are worried about their jobs. Then am I going to have a job? Am I needed? Is my specialist skill going to be required? Or does it mean that we can utilise the people we've got to be more efficient and be quicker? A BBC article said the NHS AI test spots tiny cancer missed by doctors. So what they effectively did is they trained the AI on a number of images. They then got fresh images and ran it through AI, and they also give the same images through to doctors as well. And actually AI came out as being better at identifying early stages of cancer, which I think is huge. There's this one as well on the left, and if anyone's got a medical background, they might be able to tell that actually, through years of experience, this doctor knows that this person has got pneumonia. And again, just by running this image through AI, it highlights that. So it doesn't necessarily need a professional to be able to look at these images or scans. A couple of, sort of going off topic a little bit, but a couple of kind of funny tests, but when you actually think of the context behind them, it makes you think, it's thought-provoking. So vacuum cleaners convincing other vacuum cleaners to go home. So there was a test where somebody programmed up a small vacuum cleaner that basically went into a room and spoke to other vacuum cleaners and tried to convince them to go home. So hopefully the video will work. So I think what that shows is the larger robots there had no concept of home. But actually, in a very short space of time, they were convinced to follow the smaller robot out of the building to wherever home was. Now, the gates were locked, so there was no kind of escaped robots anywhere. But again, it's just that you look at it on face value and go, okay, but actually start to think about what's happening there. They're having conversations, they're learning, and they're willing to follow. I won't explain this one, I'll let the video do it. It's a slightly longer video, but again, very, very thought-provoking.
60, we had a fart of grippers, robotic arms that can grip things. The way our team decided to program them using artificial intelligence was to build a farm of grippers, not teach them anything, put a box of children toys in front of each and every one of them, and ask them to try. And typical of artificial intelligence, and typical of intelligence in general, if you think of a child learning to put a cylindrical peg in a square hole until it figures out the relationship between the shape of the hole and the shape of the object, the machines were doing exactly that. It was on the second floor, next to the staircase, when my office was on the third floor, and I would climb up every day and look at them failing and failing, and telling myself, while doing testing, is this not going to happen? Until one day, I was walking by and I noticed that one of the arms managed to actually grip one object, which was a soft yellow ball. I was like, well done. All of that investment, and we grabbed the ball. But that wasn't the truth. The truth is that by Monday, when I went to work, almost every one of them was grabbing that yellow ball or a wallet every time. And then a few weeks later, every one of them was grabbing everything all the time. And that hits me really strongly at two levels. One is the speed at which things happen, but also to the independence, autonomy, and took the freedom to learn that those machines had, and how that led them to become something that humans take 2.5 years to learn to grip properly. And it basically resembles a child in so many ways. And that was the moment when I started to ask myself, where does this go? They can do that in a few weeks. What can they do in a few months or a few years? The problem really is, for the first time in the history of humanity, we are not creating a tool. This is not something that will do what we tell it to do. We are creating a form of sentient being, a being that is able to replicate, a being that's capable of free will. It's capable of evolution and evolving. It's capable of intelligence. It has agents, so it can actually affect its decisions and ideas in the world.
Yeah, I think really powerful when you actually start to think about that and how it's actually learning and being a being. And there's loads of debates about whether it's going to be good, whether it's going to be bad, but what we're seeing is it's moving at such a pace. And I think we're only just on the cusp of that at the moment. But it's not flawless, certainly not at the moment anyway. So where it's powerful, it's not perfect, and human oversight is still essential. So ChatGPT once recommended boiling water in a plastic bag in the microwave. So even if you haven't got a kettle, I probably wouldn't recommend doing that. Copilot confidently summarised a document it hadn't read, which again is a bit unnerving. Email reply suggestions. Thanks for the update, let's destroy the project. It might have been how the person felt, probably not what you should send. And AI image generators often add extra fingers or surreal shadows, and we're now seeing progression in video as well, which is just absolutely amazing, and also voice. So when we're talking about phishing attacks and things like that, if you've got if your voice is public, they've got the ability for AI to learn voice, to replicate voice, to do phone calls that sound like you. So there's a number of attacks at the moment that might sound like TV presenters, radio presenters, people that are on YouTube. Again, another social media post, but somebody asked AI what the stabilizers were on a plane, and it correctly answered it. And then it said, do you want me to produce an image for that? Now, I've certainly not seen a plane that looks like that, so it's labelled it incorrectly, and obviously it's drawn it incorrectly as well. So again, it's good, it's getting better, but not quite perfect. And if we look at things like self-driving cars, I mean, Teslas are pretty renowned as being probably one of the best self-driving vehicles out there at the moment, or certainly has been at the forefront of that technology. But they actually use image-based scanning for their self-driving cars. They don't use a lot of radar or LiDAR, I think it's called. So a test was done, it's available on YouTube, driving a Tesla to a brick wall. But what they did on that brick wall was they put an image of the road, and actually the Tesla didn't detect that wall. Spoiler alert, sorry. So yeah, it crashed straight into it. Luckily it was boxes, it wasn't a physical wall. And you may have noticed a little spelling mistake in the bottom left-hand corner. So this was an AI image that we asked it to generate, and ironically it came back with an incorrect spelling. Or maybe it did it on purpose, trying to be funny, I don't know. So yeah, always review the AI outputs. It's smart, but it's not wise.
Yeah, a whole new world of opportunity, and hopefully, again, this AI image isn't lost on you. So we've got another couple of videos next as well from back in 1966, so almost 60 years ago, where they asked a group of 13-year-olds what they kind of saw for the future.
All this automation, people are doing their own work and a great population. I think something has to be done about it. Those computers are taking over now. Computers and automation. And in the year 2000, there just won't be enough jobs to go around. And the only jobs there will be for people with high HQ and high IQ who can work computers and such skills. And other people are just not going to have jobs. They're just not going to be jobs for them to have.
And I think that is a real kind of concern that everyone has. So I think it was estimated in one document that we read that by 2030, 90 million jobs were going to be displaced, but we're going to be replaced by about 130 million jobs, which sounds pretty good. But I don't know if any of you have listened to the latest Diary of a CEO podcast that was released earlier this week, but they had the godfather of AI saying that actually he doesn't think that there are going to be that many jobs created embracing AI. So taking it back a number of years, when the car was invented, this created a load of new jobs in insurance, logistics, and kind of revolutionised the world that we live in. And it's anticipated that we're going to have similar in the AI world as well, but it is a largely unknown.
Yeah, it's heavily debated at the moment on what actually that looks like and how quickly. I think the most scary thing for me is 2030 is the figure that's being quoted. And, you know, this is all going to be here in the next 5 years, and it is moving at a rapid pace, and we don't know what that looks like. I think what we do need to think about as business owners is how can we utilise it and how can we make our business more efficient. If we're not utilising AI, are we going to get left behind by our competitors potentially utilising it and having less people within the business?
Yeah, we haven't got the answers, but there's the good and some of the bad.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you found it useful. Sorry if we overran slightly. 2 minutes, that's not too bad. And feel free to pick our brains over lunch. We'll happily talk about AI for as long as you want to talk about AI.